when I first moved here, I would always see myself as the only queer person or the only Asian person in a lot of spaces. Someone in radio said to me, "Dyan, I'm not sure if Australia is ready for a gay Asian pop star." Hi, I'm Dyan Tai, the Gaysian Empress of Sydney. We're here at Happy to talk about my new single, Hantu. So I actually wrote Hantu early this year during Sydney World Pride when I was asked to write a song at Jaraba Disco to honor the lives lost due to HIV/AIDS. And I wanted to create a performance that kind of honors the community in Southeast Asia, especially in Malaysia and Indonesia, where the queer community is still being persecuted for their sexuality and gender identity, and there's a huge stigma surrounding HIV/AIDS. I wanted to write a song for that, and I started exploring different sounds from Malaysia and Southeast Asia, and I found all these beautiful samples of seruling, gendang, which are like quite common traditional soundscapes and instruments in Malaysia and Southeast Asia. So I used that in the production and created this song called Hantu. With the Hantu music video, it was a collaborative process between myself and Sean Parker. And Sean's actually been my mentor in the last few years. He's incredible. He's an award-winning choreographer and director, and he's like toured shows around the world. And the last show that Sean had produced that I saw during Sydney World Pride was called King. And I was really blown away by how Sean could, Sean had a cast of male identifying dancers, and he was able to bring out masculinity and softness and play with gender and sexuality in a really contemporary way. So I went to Sean and I was like, Hantu, this is a song that so heavily features Southeast Asian music, so I wanted to have Southeast Asian dancers, and I wanted to explore those themes because Hantu, which means ghost in Malay and Indonesian, for me is also about parts of our identity. And for a lot of queer people living in countries like Malaysia and Indonesia, they might choose to hide parts of themselves for safety reasons. They might not want to share it, because I find that the concept of coming out from a Western lens, it doesn't always apply to a lot of like migrant Southeast Asia or communities around the world. So like Hantu is also about that. It's also about parts of ourselves that are hidden. So I wanted to work with Sean to like play around with like gender sexuality and also like have this beautiful cast of Southeast Asian dancers to explore those themes. So ever since I was little, growing up in Malaysia, I wanted to be able to express myself. And then as I grew older, I wanted to create music and art that is representative of my identity, of my queerness. And I realized that, as much as I love Malaysia, it's not the right place for me to be able to safely express that. So I worked really hard to move to Sydney. It was quite shocking, to be honest, when I first moved here, because as a very young queer person, I feel like I was just placed in this group of Asians. On top of that, I didn't really have a community at that time. And then one day I had like a light bulb moment, an aha moment, and I realized that if people keep telling me I'm too gay, too Asian, you know what? I'll make sure they remember me for it. So I started to be more authentic, and I feel like the first step for a lot of people is to accept who you are first and foremost. Like, you need to be proud of who you are and where you come from. And then from that moment on, I started making music and creating performances that kind of like carry that message. If people see me on stage, I want them to see my culture through my music and my culture through my art. And that is so important for me. If I can inspire just one person, if that one person came up to me after their set, and if they tell me how much they appreciate it or they can relate to those experiences, that's enough for me. So with all the facial expressions, maybe that came out subconsciously. Because growing up in Malaysia, people always say that in a very typical Chinese family, You know, it's not what your parents say, but if they want to say something, you feel it. And you see it in their faces, right? Because we don't like to talk about feelings, but they'll definitely show it to you. Thanks for having me here at Happy. Please check out my new song Hantu, which is now out on all streaming platforms, and maybe come to my new show, Permaisuri, The Gaysian Empress Rises, on the 24th of November at the Red Rattler Theatre. Ah, okay.
Oh no, that's okay. But that was really great. I don't know, have you done a million interviews before? Because you just like speaking really well.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is really...